Good evening, it's the Phoenix Warrior. I wanted to touch on a couple of the topics that we were talking about between the soul family, angels, spirits, master guides, ascended masters, and guardian angels. I went into a little bit of depth with guardian angels and soul family. This video is just kind of a really quick one of, yep, there are all those different types, and it really just depends on your personal belief and what you believe. The difference between them is the soul family are ones that have physically lived a human life, a physical body, basically. And when they cross over, their energy is really, really intense. One of the best ways that I heard of an explanation was, imagine, because most people can think of sports and things like that. So imagine that you're at a football stadium watching football, and everybody kind of has an idea how big the football stadium is. So, in order to be able to communicate or feel energy, because everything is energy, that imagine running that football stadium 20 times, how much energy it would take. So when they cross over, and that's their energy, that's the strength of it, if you want to say. And that, so in order to communicate with them and talk with them and stuff like that, that's quite a bit of energy. So here on Earth, the human experience, if you take 100%, and that's a lot of energy that we have to amp up our energy to be able to reach and feel with them. So that's the soul family. Now with angels, angels haven't lived a human experience, and their energy is more light and like an angel, the wings, right? They're light, they're fluffy. They have a because they've never had like a personality, ego kind of human, and that because they've never lived a human life. So there's a lot of things that they just don't have or understand, and they just come from that pure angelic energy. So when you see them, it's like if you see them, you feel them, you sense them. It's more angelic, it's light, fluffy, very subtle kind of thing, and they have a certain role, job to do. And that then you have your guides, and you name it, there's a guide for everything. There's a joy guide, there's a happy guide, there's sex guide, money guide, job guide, a family guide. They master in that skill, that role, that job, and that would be your master guides. And then there's the ascended master guides, that they've basically did all of their life experiences. So basically when I've talked about like a schoolyard, right, they've done from pre-kindergarten all the way to grade 12, plus they've done some college and university, and now they've mastered in university. If they're and Then there's the master guides, so they've mastered in that topic, that a couple of those sections kind of thing. If they're an ascended master guide, then they're even at the next level. They've had all their experience, their human lives. They don't have to come back and have any more lives. Their job is to guide and help out. So when some people have talked about, you know, like when they do Reiki and things like that, and they've called in, you know, an ascended master, they've called in, you know, for when people do like the healing things and they call in the ascended masters. So it's no different than if you're going to school and you have a teacher and they're teaching you grade 12, but now you have to go into university and you need the professor, you know, somebody that has more wisdom and more knowledge. Some people believe, like people like, you know, Oprah, like Wayne Dyer, Mother Teresa, those type of people, they just have this wisdom about them, and they just have this essence and that about them, that they would be like on their last few lives, or in this lifetime they've completed it, now they can, you know, ascend basically. Each one of them has a different feel, a different energy about them. Some people say that they can see them. Some people can feel them. Some people can hear them. So it just really depends on how they communicate with you. My belief is if they're an ascended master, they have more skills, more wisdom, more knowledge. It only makes sense to me that they could communicate in any of the clairs. You know, they can do it by sight, by hearing, by feel, use any of the senses. Some people are under the belief system that, you know, certain spirits or certain soul families or whatever can only communicate in one or two ways. I believe they can communicate they have like one that they're really good at and that they probably like better and that of using. But if you only can feel them, then of course they're going to have to use that sense for you to know that they're there. If you only want to see it or hear it, then they're going to have to use those senses. So that's just kind of give you a little snapshot of the different ones that people talk about, and it gives you a different you know, different perspective and that, and you can look them up and everything like that. The ascended masters and stuff like that, it's really interesting to look them up, and they all have different roles and different things. I'm a firm believer that even if you don't know if it was a guide or a spirit or your soul family or your guardian angel or an ascended master, they don't have an ego. So if you need help in something and you ask, like for an example, if you're at the hospital and you have a sick family member and you pray or you ask or whatever, you opened up that door and gave them permission to help you. They don't have an ego. They don't need to be, oh, I'm not going to help you because you didn't call me the right name. You didn't know who I was. They're not going to do that kind of thing. You could call them all Mickey Mouse if you want to. I'm sure there's days that, you know, I always joke around about, let's say, the ascended master. Today, you know, they're calling him Michael, and the next day they're calling him a crow, or they're calling him this or that. They're just glad that you're actually open to talking to them and asking for their help, because, you know, that's their job, that's their role. They each have a role and a job to do to help you. And they're kind of just sitting here going, okay, I'm waiting for her to wake up and ask and that. And, you know, they try to communicate and let us know by different ways and that. So that's a little snapshot of the different types of spirits and stuff like that you may sense or feel or hear about, or maybe just a little bit curious about and that. So I hope you enjoy this video, and, you know, please comment and subscribe and ask a few questions, because I love talking about this kind of stuff, and I love hearing about everybody else's different experiences, because each one of us has a different experience with it. So talk to you later.